It's technically still winter, but I don't know about you. I cannot look at another heavy sweater. At the same time, it is absolutely not leniency weather, so what are we actually supposed to knit right now? Today I am sharing the transitional pieces I keep coming back to when the weather can decide what it's doing. So get comfy and let's dive in. Hi and welcome. My name's Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. And in this video, I've put together a roundup of patterns that feel perfect for that in-between season. Think breathable sweaters, layering pieces, lightweight cardigans, and a couple of practical accessories, perfect for those windy but sunny days. These are not full spring knits yet, and they are definitely not deep winter projects either. They are the pieces I would cast on when I want something lighter without freezing when I go outside. And let's start with the first pattern on today's lineup, which is the Oscillating by Rachel Ilsley. This is a January of 2026 release, so just 1 or 2 months ago, depending on when you're watching this video. It is knit at a DK weight gauge using a cotton and alpaca blend yarn, and this pattern features a circular yoke, but it has two different options when it comes to the lace design. You can either go with lace all over the piece or just in the yoke with a stockinette body. You can see both options in the pattern photos, in the pattern page, and in my opinion, the all over lace, it's just gorgeous. The recommended yarn for this pattern is a combo of lace weight and one strand of a cotton blend, which is always good for breathability. It feels like warmth without adding much weight to the overall look of this piece. The lace has written instructions as well as charts, which is always good, and it has a top-down construction knit in the round with short row shaping, which I really appreciate to improve the fit of this garment. The lace doesn't look overly complicated or overwhelming, so I think this is a lovely option for a spring knit. The color doesn't bring much attention to it, letting the lace design shine. And there's also a little detail at the base of the collar. It looks like a slipped stitch. I don't know if I'm right or not, but it looks something like a slipped stitch, and what I do know is it looks nice. I am biased when it comes to the color the designer chose for her sample, but I just love the purple shade she used. So when I looked at this pattern for the first time, it definitely caught my eye and it went straight into my favorites list. Hopefully I will cast this on soon, but who knows. My spring plans are kind of open and kind of already decided. I don't know. So now let's go to the second pattern in today's lineup, and it is time for the Soft Current Sweater by Wool and Pine. This is another January release, so another really fresh pattern, and this one is knit seamlessly from the top down at a DK weight gauge. This pattern features lace and cable panels that sweep over the shoulder and continue down the front and back, creating a very clean shoulder line. You can see some details of that section in the pattern photos, and it looks perfect. It looks like a chef's kiss. I have a soft side for patterns that mix cables and lace. I just love the look of both techniques together in one single piece. So when I looked at this one, I instantly loved it. The V-neck is good to keep it lighter, and there's also short row shaping, which is always nice to get a good fit with this garment. When I looked at the pattern photos, I immediately thought of my mom. This pattern screams mom in my head, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Quite the opposite, actually. It just looks like something she would love to wear. So I really want to cast this on for her. Maybe I'll get to it this season. I don't know. Sometimes I don't like patterns that feature a center panel full of texture surrounded by a sea of stockinette. You know what I mean? The texture stands out too much and I don't find the overall look of the garment very cohesive. But with this one, I don't know what it is, but I feel like all the details live in harmony with each other, if that makes any sense. Nothing stands out, and it's just a gorgeous sweater pattern. The back panel is scaled to maintain visual balance across all sizes, which is a huge thing that I really appreciate for the cohesive look I just talked about. The pattern photos show a beautiful drape on the sweater, and there's also a T sister pattern, the soft current T. I think that's the right name, and also a shawl featuring the same flowing motif, but I really like the sweater pattern. Maybe this is a more involved project, but it looks so elevated and I can't wait to cast this on for her. So now let's jump to the third pattern, and it is time for the Cardi Jumper by Vert Knit. This is a minimal and very clean look, but so wearable and cozy at the same time. It can be worn in two ways, as a V-neck cardigan or as a boat neck sweater. I love both looks, so I really like having options with this garment. And this one is a basic piece I would love to add to my wardrobe. I don't think I have a cardigan that is just plain stockinette, so I really like this option, and it also features a dropped shoulder and oversized fit with a clean shoulder seam to make it extra polished. The pattern was updated in the end of 2023 and now includes a few options like solid color or a striped look, I-cord or double knitted button bands, and a subtle body shaping. Nothing major, just a couple of decreases to shape the body. One of the recommended yarns is Rosa Pomar Mondim. I had a chance to work with this yarn one time and I absolutely loved it. I would love to work with it again. So this pattern has my gears turning a little bit, and it is knit at a fingering weight gauge worked from the top down. So now let's jump to a couple of accessories, because sometimes spring days are really windy and accessories come in handy. The first one I've selected is the Grapevine Scarf by Celeste Knitwear. This is perfect in my opinion for unpredicted windy days, and it takes up little space in our bag, which is also really nice. This designer offers only neck and head accessories. I don't know if I missed a sweater pattern, but I don't think I did, and as far as I could tell, they are all free, or at least the ones I clicked were free, so an extra bonus when it comes to this pattern. This is a rectangular scarf featuring lace panels and small cables on a reverse stockinette background, and this pattern is an 8-row repeat, which looks fairly simple to memorize, so I don't think knitting this would be a problem. It has some I-cord edging and a ribbed border to give this piece a more polished look, and it is knit at a DK weight gauge, making this a quick project. The suggested yarn is Drops Daisy, which is 100% merino DK weight, so it can be a very affordable project also. It is a free pattern, like I said, which helps in the money department, and it comes in just one size, but it's really easy to adjust both length and width, so very flexible in that regard. It looks lightweight and perfect for colder spring days, when it's too warm for a winter scarf, but too cold with a bare neck, you know? That's when I will reach for a Grapevine Scarf. And my second neck accessory for today's lineup is the Valin Scarf. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Valin Scarf by Iron Lynn. This pattern came out in February of 2026, so super fresh, and it features a triangle shape knit sideways from tip to tip, and worked entirely in double knitting. So it looks the same on both sides, but I know double knitting is not for everybody, or at least not in all over double knitting project. But the look of it, it's so gorgeous. Maybe it's worth the extra work. This is perfect for those quote open but not fully quote free days, and there's an opening for one end to go through, giving this piece a very polished look with minimal effort. Well, unless we consider this is all over double knitting. But anyway, this pattern has the same idea as the double knit scarf by Hello Hugo Life that I knitted at the end of last year, but with a different shape. That one is a rectangle and this Valin Scarf is an elongated triangle. I think I prefer the look of this one with the long tips. I don't really know why, but I really like how it looks. And the suggested yarn is Pure Fine by Maho, I don't know, Garn, which is a worsted weight blend of cotton and alpaca with a little bit of merino thrown in there. So a really good yarn for a spring project. I've been seeing this yarn featured, this yarn brand, featured in a few different patterns lately, and it's making me want to try out this yarn. I don't know, we'll see. The pattern page shows a sample knit in a solid color and another one with stripes, giving it a more playful look that is really cute. So enough with accessories, and let's jump to another garment pattern. And it is time for the side Bow Slipover by Sarah Antipenkov. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. This pattern was released in March of 2025, and there are many slipover patterns out there, but this one, I really like the side bow. It adds interest without much bulk, and that little detail at the shoulder seam is just really pretty. It is knit at a worsted weight gauge, but it's an open vest with no mohair, so it doesn't feel suffocating on spring days. Or at least I hope. It is knit top down with double knit ties, and you start by knitting them separately and attach as you go up and down the armhole. The pattern page doesn't say, or at least I couldn't find, how the little detail at the back of the shoulder is created, but it does not look complicated to achieve or anything like that. And this detail also goes down the side of the body next to the double knit edge, which is always nice to add some visual interest to this piece. I've never knit a vest because it's one of those things that I think I will enjoy the process but never really reach for it once it's done. But I don't know, these photos are making me change my mind potentially, so maybe I'll get around to knitting a vest in this upcoming season. I don't know. It certainly is very practical as a layering piece over spring and autumn, sometimes even summer, doing those odd chilly late afternoons, you know. I know my mom loves to wear vests, so maybe I could make her one and borrow it now and then to see if I would wear a vest if I had one. I really like this idea. Over a dress or a button down, a vest looks so cute, and even paired with a t-shirt and shorts. And shoot, this is kind of making me want to change my spring plans. Anyway, next up is the Gartergan cardigan. Yeah, Gartergan cardigan by Tori Yu. This is a top-down drop shoulder construction worked in garter stitch with an open front and high-low hemline featuring I-cord edges and a full seam. It is knit at a DK weight gauge, and the recommended yarn is Sonder Yarn Co. Sunday Morning DK. I've heard great things about this yarn, but I never had a chance to knit with it. This pattern offers two options, a vest and a cardigan. The cardigan is knit by picking up stitches, and then you knit the sleeves in the round like a regular cardigan or sweater pattern. And for the vest, you just skip the sleeves and no additional finishing is required. I love the high-low hemline. It gives this piece a very polished look while still being very wearable on a daily basis with no problem. I've never knitted a high-low hemline, so interesting to see how this one works once it's done. I mean the wearability of it. It is a garter stitch open cardigan or vest depending on what you're looking for, which means there's minimal purling on the body, if any, and a bit on the sleeves if going for the cardigan look. This is one of the first patterns I saved right after creating my account on Ravelry, and I really hope to cast this on soon. I mean, there's hope. The open concept without buttons gives this piece a different look than a regular cardigan in my opinion, and it's the perfect layering piece for spring. So now let's jump to another pattern, and it's time for the Garden Cardigan by Anke Strick. This is another open front cardigan, but adding buttons to this cardigan is no problem at all. And this one has built-in button bands and a nice neckline to add some visual interest. The lace pattern is super easy to knit according to the pattern page, creating a lightweight fabric. This pattern also features a hidden pocket on the inside. I don't know if I will actually put anything inside this pocket, fearing it would weight down the cardigan, but it's nice to know it's there, you know? Pockets are nice, they're cute, and everybody loves a good pocket. This is knit at a DK weight gauge, which is achieved by holding two strands together. Some knitters used merino paired with mohair, others went with a cotton and wool blend, like Lana Grossa Eco Puno, which is a sport weight yarn I really want to try soon. Hopefully, I don't have any concrete plans for that, but hopefully I will try this on soon. There's also a garden sweater featuring this same neckline and lace design, but I chose the cardigan version for today's lineup. It is worked top down and the only finishing required is weaving in ends, since the band is worked as you go, which is really nice for a cardigan when everything is done and we still have to go back and pick up stitches, a ton of stitches that is, to add the button band. Sometimes it feels like a never-ending project, but there's no risk of falling down this road with this garden cardigan. It looks lovely in basically any color out there. There are hundreds of projects on Ravelry to browse for inspiration, and this piece has such a delicate and cozy look. It screams spring in my opinion. So now let's jump to another cardigan pattern, and this time I want to share with you the Long Summer Cardigan by Jorge Locatelli. This is an old crush of mine. I've been eyeing this pattern for years now, but I still haven't come across a yarn that said, "Can I please be a long summer cardigan?" When this day comes, I will cast this on immediately. This is a loose-fitting cardigan, perfect for those spring days that feel more like summer, and the drape of this cardigan is amazing. It's yet another open front cardigan, but what can I say? They're perfect for spring, and adding buttons is an easy thing to do, so here we are. It is knit at a fingering weight gauge, so definitely not too heavy for spring and summer days, and it's worked from the top down and the sleeves are worked in the round. The pattern page says there's short rows, but it doesn't specify where. From the photos, I would say there's a bit of short row shaping to create the sleeve cap and maybe the back of the neck. I don't know, I couldn't really see this section based on the pattern photos, but we know they're there somewhere. This stripy look is definitely my weakness. I love stripes and they make such fun garments for spring and summer, so this one is perfect in my opinion. There's some sort of texture between stripes. I can't really tell if it's twisted rib or something else, but it looks like twisted rib. This long silhouette adds drama but not heat, and what else could you want for spring and summer, right? It is easy to throw over literally everything we have in our wardrobe, so this would be a sure pick for my, well, plans someday. I don't know what I'm saying. So let's jump to another pattern, which is the Lucy cardigan and sweater by the Knit Pro Girl. This pattern features a drop shoulder design worked top down with an all over Andalusian stitch texture. I'm almost sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, and a rounded neckline. There are panels of stockinette stitch along the shoulder seams, the neckline, and the underarm, giving this project a lovely visual interest. The PDF files include instructions for a sweater, a cardigan, as well as a vest, so perfect for knitting more than one garment from a pattern we already have in our library. The pattern features a split hem, but going for a regular hem is totally doable, and the ribbing accents are all done in 1x1 rib. This pattern is worked at a DK weight gauge, but it's not heavy looking, so I think it would fit spring days pretty nicely. And the recommended yarn is Sunness Garn Peer Gynt, but there are many nice alternatives on Ravelry, other knitters chose that we can use as inspiration. I really like the simple texture of this design with clean lines, which means it's not only a fun time knitting this project, but also a very wearable garment once it's done. So I would say this is a good, if you only need one transitional piece option, this is the one. So now let's go to my second to last pattern for today's lineup, and it's time for the pole sweater by Morica Knit. This one is worked from the top down in stockinette stitch, featuring a saddle shoulder construction and a V-neck, keeping it visually lighter. You start by casting on stitches for the shoulders separately and then joining into a single piece to later pick up stitches to work the back. There are German short rolls to shape the shoulders and also 1x1 rib accents. The back detail looks very nice and it adds a lot of interest to this piece without much work, which we always appreciate. This is more of a cold spring days kind of garment, I would say, but it definitely still has its moment to shine. It is worked at a sport weight gauge, holding one strand of sport weight yarn, in this case mahogany, I never know how to pronounce this, fine merino, held together with one strand of lace weight mohair. Although there's mohair in this project, when looking at other projects on Ravelry, this sweater feels very airy and cozy and not very wintry, I'd say. So in my opinion, this is a good pick for a spring knit. The V-neck detail is not at all too deep, but I do think I would add a little bit more depth to it. Not much, just a little bit, depending on the look I was going for. I think of this as a throw it on whenever it gets chilly at night out in the backyard, you know? That's what I picture when I look at this sweater. Definitely wearable and definitely very cozy. And the last pattern for today's lineup is the Simply Me Blouse by Norgard Knitters. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. This might be one of my favorites from today's lineup. It's definitely in the top 3. And this is a simple, cropped, oversized blouse with a beautiful box pleat on the back. It features a wide boat neck, 3/4 sleeves, and garter stitch all over. Skipping any kind of ribbing to keep the garter stitch all the way to the edge, which gives this garment a much more polished look, I would say, and even dressier sometimes. It is worked at a DK weight gauge, and the recommended yarn is Long Yarn's Faya, which is a cotton and wool blend with a little bit of yak, adding breathability to this piece. It is knit from the top down with short row shaping across the chest to improve the fit, and the body is worked in garter stitch in the round using short rows to avoid all the purling, and the same technique is used when knitting the sleeves. So for the knitters out there who don't really like purling, this pattern is for you. It looks like a blouse and not a winter sweater, and it's a lovely option for spring if we don't feel like wearing a sweater sometimes. This one feels like the perfect season shift, in my opinion, can be layered now and worn alone later, and with this loose fit, breathability is not even a question, and I bet is the most comfortable thing to wear. I would love to cast this on, but I don't think I can handle accomplishing even half of my spring knitting plans, so this project is going to my wait list for now, but hopefully not for long. And now that I basically want to change all my spring plans and cast on at least half of the patterns I shared with you today, I think it's time to stop here. Lots of ideas to inspire us for the upcoming season, and if you're also in that in-between mood right now, I would love to know which of these you would actually cast on. Are you still fully in winter knitting mode, or are you already craving lighter layers? Let me know in the comments. I always love chatting with you guys down there. And if you enjoyed this kind of transitional roundup, I can definitely do more seasonal shift edits like this. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If you haven't done it already, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and give this video a like. It really supports my channel and it truly makes me so happy to see you here. I will see you in the next one, and until then, happy knitting. Bye!